Hello everybody, welcome back to Bridges Brothers Barbecue. I've been kind of indisposed of in the last couple of months. I've been dealing with a lot of the weather here in Florida has been not good for cooking outside. We've had almost non-stop rain and thunderstorms daily ever since pretty much July. Since the last video uploaded about two to 3 months ago was the last time I was able to cook outside. It has just been a really wet summer. This summer it actually kind of started off a little weird. This summer it was a little cool, cooler than usual back in March and April, and then May was a little cool for normal time of year. June was hot, but again there was no rain, which was kind of odd. Because it normally rains every day in June as well, but there was no rain. Then July 1st hit pretty much, and as soon as July hit, we've had torrential downpours almost daily. Today's pretty much the first day I've been able to come outside and do a cook, so I just want to let y'all know where I've been and what I've been doing. So today I'll be doing a real quick review of that gazebo that I had bought a couple of months ago. I think I've had it for about 4 months now, and I was going to give you a 4-month update on if it's worth buying or not, my impressions of it, if it's worth sinking your time and money into. And I'm going over a cook today about I'm smoking a pork tenderloin on the smoker today, and a lot of people, they say, you don't want to smoke it on a smoker because it'll dry it out. There's not enough fat on a smoke on a pork tenderloin to make it worth smoking, that it'll dry it out. This will be my second or third one I've cooked on this thing, and you will be surprised by the results. Not only are pork tenderloins very cheap, but they feed a lot of people, and if you do it right on the smoker and you do the prep correctly, you can get a really good product once you go to serve your family. So that being said, I want to go ahead and start the video and let you know the process of how I got to the smoker. So let's get into it. So I guess while I'm waiting for my charcoal to get fully heated up and waiting for it to get ready to dump inside the firebox, let's talk about this gazebo for a second. This was purchased on Amazon. It was about $100 or so. Again, it's been about 4 or 5 months since I bought it. Let's just say I spent like $150 on it just to be safe. It was advertised as a grilling gazebo. And I really liked it because, it comes with, a built-in bottle opener here for beer. It's got this shelf on the right over here. It's got this shelf on the left, and it's got these hooks that I use quite a bit. In fact, I think even without the shade, if the top, ripped off or, got damaged, I would still use this just because of the extra shelving I get from this thing. But that being said, those are the things I really like about it. That's the biggest thing, I guess, is what I really like about it are the shelves, the bottle opener. I've used that a couple of times out here, and it was real easy to put together and real light, yet it has not moved. And we had a lot of storms come through here for about 2.5 to 3 months, non-stop storming every day, and it never moved. Even through some heavy winds, it never moved. So I like it. I mean, I would recommend somebody buy it There's just one issue that has arisen that I don't like about this thing. This top, whatever that material's made out of, is one, it's stretchy, and two, it seems to be waterproof, which sounds good on paper, but what ended up happening was water somehow started accumulating here. That's what this is. It's all water. And I have to drain this constantly. If I don't, it stretches it. As you see, it stretches it to the point where it's starting to pop the seams. Right there, the seams are being popped. Over here, the seams are being popped. I don't like that at all. And I didn't do anything to it. It's not even over the area that gets hot. So I wouldn't even attribute it to heat making the fabric be compromised. I just think it's the way it's designed, and maybe, you know, there was just so much rain and wind here for so long, it just never had a chance to let the water drain off, and you know, it just ended up accumulating, and eventually it started sagging, and now it's permanently stretched. I drain this. I come out every now and then, like maybe once a week, and drain this, and it doesn't matter. It's permanently stretched. So that's the main issue I've had with this thing. Otherwise, I really like it. If y'all are interested, I can put the link in my in the description for y'all if y'all want to look at it yourselves. Again, it only took me about 30 minutes or so by myself to put this thing together. It was, again, it's really light, it's really easy to maneuver, you can move it anywhere you really want to, and it's real convenient. So again, I told you I would do a review, and I've had this thing for a few months now, so I figured I would give y'all the review. I would give it, you know, out of a 10 being a perfect product, I would give this like a 7. It's definitely worth buying if you're using it for what I'm using it for, a way to get out of the sun, and a part of your grilling or smoking kit. So that being said, that's the part of the video I'm going to dedicate to the Gazebo review. Once these coals are hot, I'm going to go over exactly what I'm doing with the pork loin. Okay, so the first step to making really good pork loins on the smoker is to brine them. I've had this in the brine, I think, since about 10, maybe 11 o'clock in the morning. It's now 1:40 in the afternoon, so it doesn't need a long time. It just needs long enough time to absorb some of the brine. So the brine recipe, again, if y'all want, I can put it in the description if y'all ask for it. But real quick, it's equal parts sea salt and brown sugar. I used half a cup of each, and then I added a tablespoon of rosemary, a tablespoon of thyme, a tablespoon of oregano, and probably 2 tablespoons of coarse black pepper. Make sure it dissolved real good. And then put ice. That's the weird floating stuff on top. The little, you know, weird shapes. That's ice. So to keep this thing cold without putting it in the refrigerator and taking up too much space. So that's what I do. I just keep it out on the counter if it's a quick brine. So I want to pull this out, rinse it off. I'll rinse all the brine off, pat it dry, and then I'll show you the next step. Okay, so here's the pork loin once it was taken out of the brine, washed off, and dried off with some paper towels. One thing I forgot that was also in the brine was a couple of glugs of olive oil. But anyway, so what I did was, before I brined it, there was a really thick fat cap on this. That's the remnants of it. I took as much of that off as I could without losing too much of the meat. What's left is some silver skin. I'm not going to worry about it. People can cut it off when it's time to eat. But when I've cooked this in the past, I left the fat cap on the first time I cooked it, and it was a mistake because it doesn't give the fat enough time to render. So it's almost like you're eating undercooked fat, and it was pretty gross, and I didn't like it. I mean, it was cooked, but it didn't render like it normally would in barbecue. So I'm going to do a thin coat of yellow mustard with a thin coat of Lowry seasoned salt, and then final coat of Holy Cow barbecue rub from Meat Church. And that's going to be my my seasoning. I'll show you what it looks like when I get it fully seasoned here in a second. Alright, here's what it looks like when it's seasoned. Again, I did a base layer of yellow mustard as the binder. Then the first layer of seasoning was Lowry's seasoned salt. The second layer of seasoning was Holy Cow from Meat Church. And then just a second ago, I do a final light dusting on top of the Lowry's. This particular cut of pork, I mean pork in general, it can take a lot of seasoning. It's a very neutral tasting meat, as most of y'all know. So it takes flavor very, very well. So I seasoned this heavier than I would, you know, any other piece of meat, because it can take the seasoning. So don't overdo it. I mean, it'll be hard to really over season pork loin, but just don't go overboard. You know, I just do a couple of light layers and then let it sit here. I'll let it sit here for about 20 minutes to let this really soak in and sweat out. So I'll show you guys what it looks like after it's been on the smoker for at least an hour. Alright, so I got my fire going. I've got my water pan. I think that's really vital to get a good product at the end. That's with pretty much anything. I think putting a water pan, as long as you're not making beef jerky, putting a water pan in your smoker is a must to keep the humidity at a constant level so it doesn't dry out. I've got my meat probe in. This is the thicker side, and I got it, it's pretty much right in the middle of the pork loin. Today I'll be smoking between 225 and 275. I don't want to get up towards the 300 or over 300 today. This is going to be a quick cook though. This typically only takes about 3 to 4 hours to finish one of these. A lot of people say you can, well, the U.S. government says you can cook this to 145 if it's a larger piece of pork, and eat it at 145. My family likes it cooked a little more than that, so I'm going to take this to about 150, 155. I'm not going to take it up to 165 or higher because that will dry it out. But that's where we're at. I'm going to let this go for an hour or two and then let you guys see what it looks like. Today I'm burning just cheapo Kingsford briquettes was the base for the fire, and the wood itself is red oak. That's typically what I use. I use a lot of red oak because it's what I have readily available. So anyway, guys, I'll show you what this looks like in about an hour or two, and let y'all know how it's going. Okay, everybody, this is what the pork loin looks like after right at 2 hours. It's been holding steady between it was like 230 when I opened this thing, so 230 to 275. The internal temp of this is about 150. I'm gonna let it go another 30 minutes and then pull it off. But I just wanted to let y'all see what it looks like about 2 hours in. All right, folks, it is now 6:15 in the afternoon for me. This has been cooking for a little more than 3 hours. I think it's been going for like 3.5 hours. So I want to go ahead and pull it. It hit 150 internal, which tenderloin can be cooked to 145 to be safe to eat. We're going to go ahead and look at it and see what we think. Yep, it looks really good. It's got the perfect amount of color on it I wanted to. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this. I'm going to let it rest for about 10 minutes. I'm going to slice into it. I'll show you guys what it looks like when I slice it. Alright, so here's the finished product. It is now 6:30 my time. I put this on earlier around, I think, 2, so it's cooked for about 3.5 hours. I'm gonna go ahead and cut it right down the center so we can see, did I do a good job? Is it juicy? Yeah, I'd say so. A good slice. Looks juicy and tender. So we'll let you know how it turned out after everybody eats. Thank you guys, and I'll catch you in the next one. Hello everybody, so this is the conclusion to the pork loin video. After everybody ate, again, this is the second or third time I've made a pork loin on the smoker, and yet again my family, including my dad, is very critical of food. He said it's the best pork loin he's ever eaten. He said it's always juicy and flavorful and tender. He can almost cut it with a fork. It's so tender. My mother said the same thing, and my brother had it for the first time today, and he really liked it. He said it was really good. So it's really easy. It's one of the easiest ways to make a pork loin, I think. You just, you know, the way I do it is I brine it, make sure to brine it, because I think brining really helps maintain the juiciness. Smoke it at, well, I smoke it between 225 to 225 to 275 for the majority of the cook. In the last 30 minutes, I really crank the fire up to over 300 to give a nice crust, to build up a crust on the outside. I think that technique really helps create a great product, because it really doesn't have a chance to really develop a bark per se, because you're not smoking it extremely long. So that last 30 minutes cranked up above 300 helps finish off the pork and helps create a nice crust. So again, that being said, pork loins are really cheap. They're one of the cheapest cuts I think you can get, and they require very minimal trimming. You just take the extra fat off, take some silver skin off. I think it took me like 5 minutes, using a pretty dull knife to trim it up, and then brine it, and then I'll let it sit on the stove. The stovetop with the seasoning on it for about 30 minutes. I think 30 minutes to let it sweat out, and then I smoked it. So I just wanted to let you guys know it was a success, and I highly recommend you guys trying it, because you won't be disappointed. I think not enough people are smoking the pork loins because there's a stigma about it, saying that they dry out very easily. Well, if you smoke them for about 2.5 to 3 hours after brining, and then the last 30 minutes crank that heat up to form a crust, take it off, let it rest, you're going to have a fantastic product. So again, thank you, and I hope to see you guys in the next one.